Premier League 24-25 season predictions, episode one of the new season. Me and James are ready. A Jack versus James special. You know how much we love doing these. No conversations, no chatting, just giving our reasoning as to why we predict the right scores. You guys know the drill. Correct result, 1 point. Correct score, bonus point. That's how the points kind of work here for this. And James, I'm not gonna lie to you. Do you want to just dive straight in, or do you want to give a bit of preamble to the season, or you want to just dive straight in here?
Let's Jack, let's just dive straight in.
Okay, so we start off under the lights, Old Trafford. What a venue to start for the Premier League. Manchester United hosting Fulham. Look, I'll kind of lead us off here. I've got Man United 3-1. Um, I think that Man United are a team that really underperformed last year, and they kind of had used a get out of jail free card a little bit in their FA Cup win. Not only because it's a trophy, also because they needed it for Europa League football as well. So I think they kind of were able to sneak by things in there. And again, Manchester United probably one of the favourites going into that European competition too. So I think they got very lucky at the end of last year. I think it's a very different looking Man United team and manager potentially if they don't win that FA Cup at home against Fulham. I know it sounds silly in terms of the game of the season that it is, first game of the season. James, it's a must win. I'll probably bring this up a lot over the course of the season. I mentioned this in our top eight video as well. I think Matis de Ligt is a really transformative signing. The signing of Lenny Yoro too, I think also helps them. But that gap between that forward line of three and the defence becomes way smaller. It's a much more compact team. It's going to be a higher press. They won't get overrun in midfield. They won't concede all these chances that they've been conceding. We're going to see a hell of a lot more danger, I think, from somebody like Andre Onana. And I do think they'll be able to play the way Eric Ten Hag wants to play, whatever that looks like. I think it will be a huge improvement on last season. I've got them taking this 3-1 at home. I think Fulham are a good team. I'm not going to deny it. I think losing Tosin is a real shame. I think losing João Palhinha is a huge shame. I think they're a
Massive
worse
shame.
team than they were from last year. I do think Fulham are worse, but I think it's a good manager. I think Emil Smith Rowe could quietly have an unbelievable season because he's going to be in a position where he's allowed to flourish and he's allowed to do what he wants to do. So, look, I think there's some money there for them to reinvest by the end of the transfer market. Maybe they are a better team from last year. I don't know. But during this game at Old Trafford, I think it's just going to be a step too far for Fulham. They'll score, maybe even they'll score first. But I think Manchester United fight their way back to a 3-1 win. How have you got this one going?
I had 3-1, but I just feel it just being a nail biter, Jack. I don't see Manchester United be smooth sailing. I feel like
Right.
they look ready, Jack. The players look ready. I feel a lot of players been able to have a good preseason. Rashford, granted, he's been in and out, but he's had a Jack. He's had a preseason, and also the England snub is the thing that he's probably going to play around with. Garnacho didn't really play much in the Copa America there. Hoyland didn't really feature as much. Bruno Fernandes didn't play to the standard, and just watching them against C, they look on fire. Fulham, on the other hand, they haven't got on weak in certain players, but bringing a player like Emil Smith Rowe, he's going to have a huge season. I just see them being able to cause Manchester United serious issues, Jack. If you remember, Jack, going into last season, they beat Manchester United 2-1 at like home. So like that's a big thing. But first game of the season, Man United need to get off to a good start. It's a must. So I just see them being able to get there 2-1 Manchester United.
So 2-1, you said.
Yes, 2-1.
2-1, gotcha. James, we'll stick with you then. Ipswich Town back in the Premier League. Kieran McKenna and some of the cool football that he's been playing coming up against a Jurgen Klopp-less Liverpool. How have you got this one going?
To be fair, I need to go to more Ipswich games because it's actually not too far away from me. So I need to start, turn up to a couple of Ipswich games. But I see Ipswich getting something from this, Jack.
Damn it.
First game in the Premier
We're
League,
okay.
everybody up, everybody like looking forward to it. The how the bit of the unknown there. I think the crowd's going to play a big part into it. The excitement from the city is going to be massive there. Liverpool just don't know what they're going to give. It could be a one where remember a couple seasons ago when where they had a shaky start. Um, I was going to say an Ipswich win, but I'm going to say 1-0, Jack.
James, I'm
1-1.
sick of this already.
Ipswich
I'm
get a
sick
point.
of this already. I'm going 1-1 as
What?
well. I
Oh
can't
my
believe it.
days.
I've got it written down. I could prove it to you. I've got it written down. I'm sick of this already. We spend too much time together talking about this stuff. Look, James, a lot of the reasons you said. Who's a better manager, Arnie Slot or Jurgen Klopp? Well, it's Jurgen Klopp, let's be clear. Um, Virgil van Dijk's a year older. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think, is probably telling his agent that he wants to replace Danny Carvajal at Real Madrid when that time comes, whenever that is. Mo Salah, it's kind of coming to the end here a little bit as well. Transfer market's been incredibly underwhelming for them. Alisson as well, you've got to imagine he's starting to look around, maybe Saudi Arabia or something else going on. So again, it's a little bit of an end of an era here, and FSG aren't putting up the money to support Arnie Slot. So this might just be the guy after Jurgen Klopp. I do think Liverpool will take a step back in their performances, and I think a team like Ipswich not being at Anfield, I think it is dangerous. I don't think it's going to be clear enough for Ipswich to win the game outright, but I agree with you. I think 1-1 is totally fair. You can see Ipswich scoring maybe in the first half, maybe 30 to 45-minute kind of time. Liverpool switch it on in the second half and are able to just break their duck maybe late in the second half, and then it just ebbs out into a 1-1 draw. That's what I'm going to stick with as well. Right, we'll stay with me, and kind of not very customary, but I'm going to go first on the Arsenal game, Arsenal against Wolves. Um, Wolves have lost Pedro Neto. Wolves have lost Max Kilman. Wolves have lost a couple of players here, and it doesn't seem like they've brought in the reinforcements of a standard that's going to be good enough for them. So I'm going to say that an Arsenal team that look fully focused and fully switched on, who I still expect to make some signings. I know that won't affect this week, but will affect weeks going forward. I think this will be pretty routine for Arsenal. So I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal victory against Wolves. James, what have you got?
Oh, Jack, I don't know what's going on right now. This is annoying me at this point. I literally have a 2-0 Arsenal win just for the fact that
I hate
Arsenal
this.
will probably score from a set piece or something like that, and then just shut up shop. Don't see Wolves. Wolves haven't improved from last year. They lost a player like Pedro Neto. Jack, we might as well just have one score between us.
Yeah, I'm going to say we could actually potentially, if we had somebody else in on the chat in with the channel with us and we did a collab or something, then maybe you and I should just pair up, because it's the only difference at the moment is I've got Man United getting one more goal in one game. That's it so far. Um, but anyway, are you done kind of on your analysis side of Arsenal? That feels pretty routine to me.
Pretty routine. Arsenal. It's a bit disrespectful that we're not on like TV. Like we're gonna be on the 3 p.m. kickoff on a Saturday. Don't really like that, but it is what it is there. You know.
Um, we'll stick with you though, James. We will go to Merseyside. We'll go to the Blue Half, and Everton are welcoming Brighton up north. Who have you got? Everton versus Brighton.
Both teams right now who had mixed seasons. Brighton losing their manager and just not performing to the way that they should have performed. Um, overall, overall Everton being able to stay up and in just overall, it's just been an odd season. Losing a player like Onana was very disappointing there. But it is Merseyside. Everton do need a bounce back. I'm gonna say Everton are gonna have a big season this year, Jack, because they've had some terrible seasons recently. I'm gonna say 2-1 Everton, Jack.
Right. Finally, we disagree. It's good. Feels good. 2-1 to Everton for James. I'm going 1-1 on this one. Again, maybe it's a couple draws, and I know draws can be dangerous for these kinds of games, but look, I'm going to go for 1-1. I think Brighton are a real unknown quantity. I think that De Zerbi got loads and loads of praise, and everybody was high on him, and everyone was high on Graham Potter, and we were doing all this kind of wonderful stuff for this Brighton team. And very quickly, Graham Potter's gone, and James very quickly following suit. De Zerbi's gone too. They've lost some players. We know that the recruitment can't be brilliant all the time. So it's just going to kind of be what it's going to be in that respect. And I'm going to say that Brighton start to fall off a little bit. I know that they've just put some big money in for some players. I think they're getting a fullback from Turkey, who I think has been linked to Liverpool and some other big teams. And then we're also looking at, I think, Geronimo or whatever his name is, Rutter as well, for a good amount of money. So they're definitely putting the money in. But again, I think Everton and Sean Dyche, they know what they're doing, especially at home. It's going to be a hard team to beat, and I do back them to do enough to score a goal and also only concede one against a pretty flary kind of attacking Brighton team. So 1-1 on that one for me. Staying up north, Newcastle United welcoming back Southampton to the Premier League. Newcastle 2-1. Again, I do not know necessarily if we're going to see the best from Newcastle this year. I do think the kind of friction between Eddie Howe and Paul Mitchell will bleed through to the players. Sandro Tonali's still not back yet, but I do think that Newcastle are just going to have enough to beat this Southampton team. But I do think the new manager at Southampton and also the squad coming up to the Premier League, there's going to be some nervous energy. There's going to be some excitement. I do think they're going to be able to get at Newcastle a little bit, especially without Mark Gahey through the door yet, if he even goes there at all. I'm going to say 2-1 Newcastle against Southampton, but knowing Newcastle, I know they can put many more goals past Southampton if they want to, but I'm going to play conservatively 2-1 Newcastle. James, who have you got? Newcastle,
Now, if
Southampton.
you remember Jack last season, Newcastle had a crazy start to the season. I think beating Aston Villa like 5-1 or 5-0, just something crazy like that. As I said in previous videos, St James's Park is going to be an absolute fortress this season, and it's been like for many seasons. So I look at it right now, and Southampton coming up. Granted that they have been a Premier League team for many years and got relegated and went straight back up, but I just feel just with the new start of the season, the way like to me with the way the home crowd can be, I see Newcastle really running through them, and I'm going to say 3-0 Newcastle, Jack.
Nice, I like it. A bit of confidence from the Toon Army. James, will stick with you. Kind of a strange fixture for me, especially with how both these teams' summers have gone. Nottingham Forest at home to Bournemouth. How do you see this one going? Because Bournemouth were kind of good at the end of last season.
Bournemouth to me had an exceptional season. Obviously, losing a player like Dominic Solanke is big. Nottingham Forest had a major load of players coming in, had a switcher manager, and overall they were able to stay up. But the one thing for me, Jack, in the Premier League is always that dull game. And this one's pointing to me as being the dull game, the nil-nil game, the final game of match of the day that only shows like about 4 clips. I see this going, Jack, simply nil-nil.
0-0. Fair. Um, Look, I think differently for this one because I think differently about Bournemouth. I feel really strongly about Bournemouth as a pretty decent mid-table team that, especially if they can string some form together, James might poke their head into some European spots here. I'm thinking Conference League. Um, Again, I know I'm super biased, but Dean Huyson, who spent a loan season last year from Juventus at Roma, was Roma's probably, apart from Evan Ndika, Roma's better centre back. And I can't believe that Juventus were able to let him go. He's a serious talent. Solanke has gone, but if you're following Fabrizio Romano on Twitter or X, then you'd see that they've put a bunch of money up. I think 40 million euros down for Evanilson, I think, or the Brazilian striker at Porto. So I think in terms of a like for like player coming through the door for Bournemouth, they've got a serious player in the striker position, serious player at centre back. We always know they're going to be pretty good in the midfield section. With Iraola there, obviously in his style of play, I think that Bournemouth are going to have plenty for this Forest team to have to deal with. And James, I have a feeling that Forest might go down this year. So I've got Forest losing. I'm probably going to have them losing a fair amount. Forest to me lose this one 2-1. So Bournemouth win 2-1. West Ham, Aston Villa. I think this might be game of the week because I'm really high on West Ham. I think they've had a fantastic transfer window, maybe the best in the Premier
Same.
League so far. Aston Villa as well, obviously lost some players, signed some players, and I think are feeling reasonably optimistic going into the season. But I do think West Ham are going to be a tough proposition, and I'm glad this is being played in the West Ham Stadium because I think this is going to be a different kind of game than it would be if it was at Villa Park. James, I'm going to go 3-2 to Aston Villa. I think this might be game of the week and welcoming the Premier League back with a bang. Who have you got winning this one?
Jack, I see it being goals in it, but I see it just being a stalemate in terms of you've both teams going at it. And I think the one thing with Villa is that they have a big target on their back. Champions League team this year. Teams are going to be looking to take something from them. West Ham know that they're going to be in for a serious game. And I also believe that they're going to want to give the fans a bit of a reaction. Having the new manager coming too, which is to me like a big thing there. But the one thing I just cannot deny is the quality of Aston Villa and to me what they have. That's why I don't see West Ham taking all 3 points as much as I want to say that. I see this Jack being a 2-2 draw.
Nice. I like it. James, we'll stay with you going back. Well, actually, excuse me, staying in London, West London, Brentford welcoming Crystal Palace, one of our a million London derbies of the season.
Again, you look at Brentford right now, had a bit of an odd season, you know. I had about odd transfer window and what's going on with Ivan Toney seems to be like every single day something comes up with him. Will he stay? will he go? It looks like he's going to stay at this moment of time. Crystal Palace obviously having a great summer in regards to seeing the amount of players being able to represent England, and obviously losing a player like Michael Lee. Said there's been rumours of Wilfred Zaha coming back in, which is could be a huge thing for them going forward. I'm going to stick my chest out here, and based on the fact of the way that they ended last season, I'm going to say 2-0 Crystal Palace. Based on the quality that they have in the final third, can they get the best out of their striker, who had an incredible end to last season? I'm going to back Crystal Palace and say 2-0 Crystal Palace.
Look, well, I'm with you on the result. I've just got one less goal. I'm going 1-0 for Crystal Palace. Look, James, I think Mateta's really good, and I think he's going to keep being really good. I don't see that changing. I think Michael Elise is a huge loss, but James, Ismaila Sarr is no slouch, and I think under the right manager and with the right team behind him and players around him, I think Ismaila Sarr can probably replace Michael Elise reasonably easy. Eberechi Eze is somebody they really have to keep. He's going to be the dynamo for them going forward. And again, at
Mateta,
centre back, if they can get a bunch of money in for Mark Gahey, call me crazy. Out of those two for this Crystal Palace team, I think Anderson is more important for this team than Mark Gahey. So call me crazy, but as long as they keep him, if Gahey goes out and they can bring another centre back in to pair with him, I think that's going to be really good. I really like what the manager's done. And for me, James Brentford, again, similar to Nottingham Forest, I do think they're potentially in danger of going down. I look at that squad every year and I think Brentford are in danger of going down. James, go ahead.
and also big thing, Jack Mateta had a very impressive Olympics, and he started off last season on fire. So that's one that people gonna have to watch out, because he looks like he's
He's
found
no
his
joke.
confidence. He's found his boots.
And he's in my fantasy football team too. So let's hope he does some stuff there. So yeah, look, 1-0 for me on that, a little easier on that one. James, probably game of the week. I'm gonna say actually certainly game of the week. Chelsea welcoming Man City to town. Um, guys, Chelsea is an absolute nightmare. I want somebody to unplug and uninstall Football Manager from Todd Bowley's computer, because this is real life. This is not a video game, and he's kind of acting a bit silly right now. And again, the only vindication he'll have is if this team has success or his team makes a bunch of money from selling assets, because at the moment it's just a bit of a joke. Treating players poorly, no cohesion in the team or the squad. Finally getting somewhere under Pochettino in terms of the performances, and then he's just kicked out the door. Um, there's nothing redeeming really for me about Chelsea at the moment. They've always been a team that I've found quite difficult to like. But over recent years, I've found reasons to like them. I'd like some of their players, but they're going back down to my least favorite team in the league. And again, I think Man City, 115 charges, not very active in the transfer market and all this stuff. I'm still thinking a pretty convincing 3-1 victory for Manchester City here. James, how have you got this one playing out?
I see this being an odd game, Jack, because the biggest thing for me, I don't think Man City are fully ready. You just remember, you look what happened in the community shield. Granted that they won the game, Jack, but so many players missing, so many players still yet to come back. So I see this being a bit of a slow start for Man City. I feel Chelsea starting off like a house on fire, but slowly but surely getting put down. But I don't see them losing this game, Jack. I see this being a 1-0, just based on the fact that I don't think City are fully ready yet. But you know what happens when they are ready. So I'm going to stay 1-0.
Okay, fair, fair. I like it. We've had a couple of disagreements here. It's been good so far.
Have to change
James,
something up, Jack.
that's right. We've got to. We can't just keep picking the same scores all the time. Right, Leicester Spurs to close out the week. Monday night football. Sorry to make you go first on a Spurs game, but go ahead.
Um, it's Jack. It's a total weird one, because Leicester's like, what Leicester are we gonna get? Losing their manager, Maresca. Is Jamie Vardy still up to it? I think Iheanacho left, and just losing their best player. It was Dewsbury Hall to Chelsea. There's a lot of stuff really going on there. Spurs at the other hand, a lot to prove. A lot of players have a lot to do this year. They are going to be looking at a Champions League spot. They are going to look to really, challenge the top team there. I'm going to say Spurs 3-1.
Similarly to you, James, I've got Spurs winning, but again, just a goal cut back. I'd pick 3-1 if this was at White Hart Lane, but Unfortunately, it's not. It's at Leicester. They are back in the league. The crowd will be up for it. But again, I just think there's a huge gulf in quality here. And I just think Spurs will get it over the line with 2-1. Leicester, a team, I hate to say it, I think might go straight back down. Again, I think it's going to be really tough for them to stay up. And again, James, Spurs, you know my thoughts on Spurs? Got them finishing for some reason third.
Wow.
That's kind of me sticking my
Wow.
neck out a little bit. And I may,
Also, guys,
it,
that's a spoiler for the video. So you go watch his
that's right.
prediction video
That's right.
soon.
Don't
So
watch that one.
Jackie, you
Um,
just gave a
yeah, I know I
spoiler
need one
there.
of these in here. But look, I just think that again, I know it's Spurs, and history is not going to be generous to me here in rooting for Spurs for actually, properly kind of achieving something. But saying that, third is that massively achieving anything? I guess not. But that's what I've gone for. Right, guys, Man United, Fulham. James and I have both got Man United. Ipswich, Liverpool. James and I have both got a draw. Taking Arsenal against Wolves. I'm taking a draw in Everton. Brighton. James is taking Brighton. Excuse me, Newcastle. James and I are both taken against Southampton. James has got a draw for Forest Bournemouth. I've got Bournemouth winning. James has got a draw for West Ham Villa. I've got Villa winning. Both got Palace beating Brentford. I've got City beating Chelsea. James has got a draw in that game. Excuse me, we've both got Spurs beating Leicester. Drop your comments down below. Excuse me. Drop your comments down below on what you think is going to happen for the predictions this week. Drop a like on the video. If you're not subscribed, hit subscribe and hit that bell. Again, we don't want to hear your chatter about how you got every game right if it's not in the comments before kickoff. And until next time, me and James, we'll see you.